was born in Ark City, and I grew up in Emporia.
And how old were you when you realized you were Native American?
I've known my whole life. My brother and I have one brother, and we grew up pretty much the only Indians in our school. You know, my parents would come and give talks about our culture, and I did that with my kids too, because I thought it was important that the people they were around understood where they come from. My kids are Wichita and Caddo, and that's why Wichita is so important and special to me. I have a real close connection. They're from the Keechai clan. I actually have a grandson named Keechai, and their grandfather was the last chief of the Keechais. To know, well, first of all, I went to do a talk one time, and this little boy said, "You're not a real Indian." My dad said, all Indians are dead. And so I said, okay, I need to make sure that not just my kids, because I do a lot of public speaking, and I want people other communities to know that we are still here. And I do that through my clothing design. I share my culture through fashion. Well, I actually was not interested in anything about being clothing or decorating or anything like that. I actually, when I went to school, I was majoring in political science, and I thought I would be a lawyer, and I wanted to help tribes with land deeds and just various Indian projects. And I started having children, and of course we all danced and competed. I started sewing our clothes, our Indian clothes, and
Why?
Because that's our tradition, is to make our clothes and to learn. My mom they taught me beadwork, and sewing I pretty much taught myself. I never took home ec or anything, so but I wanted my kids to be dressed well when they competed or when they danced. And we'd go to functions, and I would dress them in contemporary Indian, like ribbon shirts and skirts and just really cute things. Well, I was living in Boston, and this person that worked at Harvard came to me and said, "We're having a lady chieftain conference, and would you be interested in doing a fashion show?" And I was like, I'm not a designer. I don't know. I can't do that. And she said, "Just bring your family and have them wear what they wear." And I was thinking, okay, I could do this. That sounds like it was exciting for me. And I had about 3 months, and I really did get my first collection. Now I look back at it, and it was kind of sad. But it went over well. And after that, I was invited to travel across the country to do festivals, powwows. I judged Miss Indian USA pageant in Washington, D.C. I traveled extensively to show my fashion. And I realized it was an opportunity for me to communicate with non-Indians to bring our culture alive. Through this, I've done many fashion shows, and I try to use Native girls to model my clothes, although the clothing I make, anybody can wear. They're contemporary and anyone can wear them. I didn't tell anybody, but I made an application. I saw online there was applications for designers for New York Fashion Week. And so
And when was that?
2019. And right before COVID. September before COVID. And I made an application, and I didn't tell anyone because I always say everything that I do, I succeed. I succeed at it. So I didn't want people asking me, did you get in? Did you get in? So I applied, and it was the 4th of July, and I was at a powwow dancing in Mayetta, and I got a phone call. It had a bunch of missed phone calls from New York, and I'm like, who's calling me? I thought it was a solicitor.
Prank, yeah.
So I listened to the voicemail, and it was the director of the fashion show telling me that I had been selected to be in the fashion show. And I told my family, and we went to New York Fashion Week, and I was selected to be the opener for the show. And Heidi Dawes, I don't know if you know, she's a jewelry designer. She was the closer. And 3 of my daughters went and modeled for me. And I took some other models from Wichita. I had about 6 girls in it. So I started with traditional wear, very traditional beadwork and traditional wear. I wanted to show, because in the clothing I design, I use elements of our traditional wear. Like I use feathers, elk teeth, beads, buckskin. I try to use different elements. I have special fabric that I have printed. And so Hellas did wear a traditional buckskin shirt that I had made for him. Yeah. So this dress I made special for a little program I did at the Wichita Art Museum, and I actually made it the night before. It took me about an hour. It's different women dancers on it. It's kind of a powerful message, because it's women. Women are strong. In our culture, women are very strong. We're the mothers, and we create our generations that follow us. So women are very highly respected in our culture. Okay, so when I went to New York Fashion Week, I actually made the cover of the New York Fashion Week magazine. It's my daughter. I got invited to Paris Fashion Week and Milan Fashion Week. And the first year I couldn't go because COVID. The second year I couldn't go because I was afraid there was an issue with shipping things, and I was worried that I would lose something in shipping. There was just a lot of things going on, so it didn't turn out to be a good time. The next year, my son got cancer, and I didn't want to leave the country. I didn't know what was going to happen, for him. And then the next year I got cancer, and had to, deal with that. And my husband passed away. And this year is my year. So they invited me. I put an application in December, and they sent me an application. I put it in, and they said they would be selecting designers in January, and I would know by the middle of January. And the very next day I got an acceptance. No, this is my first term.
Okay.
It's a 4-year term.
Okay.
Yes. And nobody knew what was going on. They tell me afterwards, after people found, there was an article in the Wichita Eagle and the Active Age, yes.
Okay.
And people were reading it, and they're like, I did not know you were sick. I didn't know you were going through that, because I attended all my meetings.
You keep everything private.
I do, and I attended all the meetings and went through and did my responsibilities as needed. And but I actually had a gallbladder attack, and I went to the hospital and they removed it. But then while I was there, they told me that I had kidney cancer and lung cancer, and so that happened in April, the end of April. And it was right around all the graduations that were, because I have North High, and I attend that graduation. Actually, 2 weeks out, or a week out of my surgery, I did go to the graduation. I attended the graduation. Nobody knew that it was hard to stand there, shake all the hands, but I wanted to be there because I'm an ambassador. I feel like I'm an ambassador too, because I wear my traditional dress. when I go, to those functions. In September, I lost half of my lower left lung, and 2 weeks out of that surgery, my husband Hollis was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is brain cancer, and 3 weeks later he died. Went to the VA, and they diagnosed him with glioblastoma, and 3 weeks later he passed away. So, and then in January 10th, I had my kidney done. And so I'm cancer-free.
Good.
I hope. So that's exciting, and I feel like I have a new beginning. I met Hollis at Haskell.
Okay.
I was 15,
Okay.
and he had just come back from Vietnam. But I knew him growing up because of the Powells. We'd come to Wichita, and he would always be like setting up benches, and he was really a beautiful dancer.
Yeah.
So, and at Haskell, he would dance at halftime, and so on Facebook, through a mutual friend, we both were liking
When was
pictures.
that? When was that?
About 12 years ago.
Okay. So you guys weren't married very long.
No, we had our 11th anniversary on the Friday after I buried him. I buried him the day before Thanksgiving, and the day after Thanksgiving was our anniversary.
Oh my heavens.
So
Well, and he was Omaha.
he was Omaha. He was a
And-
hereditary chief, Black Shoulder Clan. He's a
Okay.
Buffalo. He's a part of the Buffalo Clan. I want him to know that we're still here, that we are educated, and we are thriving in our communities. We have doctors, lawyers, politicians, community leaders, and we're sometimes invisible, but we are here and we're productive and contributing to our communities. Try to promote their student achievement. I think that's very important, that our kids are ready for life. So, well, because we live in an urban city, we're a melting pot for many tribes. Some of those kids do not have access to traditional teachings. Maybe we have some homeless people, we have poverty. So I want them to identify and feel strong and feel good about who they are. I actually have initiated a Native curriculum that we have curriculum specialists working on it right now that will coincide with Kansas history. I think it's really important that the kids, not just Native kids, but the kids in Wichita know that where Wichita name came from, that it's a tribe. You'd be surprised. They don't know Wichita is an Indian word, and it's a tribe. They don't know the state of Kansas comes from an Indian tribe, and they don't know the importance of what's happened and how Wichita was developed and the history of the natives and the trading and who lived here. And I just think that's really important. It was November, and I wanted to do a presentation to one of the classes, and I think it was third grade, and they're like, oh, they don't learn about Indians in third grade. They only learn about them in second and fourth. And I'm not sure if that's the correct grades, but there's only certain grades that they have. And when they have the curriculum is they learn about Cherokees and Sioux and Navajo and tribes that don't even mean, I mean, they're important.
They're not.
But they're not local,
Yeah.
and we have so much rich history here.
Mhm.
So that when I got on the board, I was like, that is what I want to do. I want to work on that and make that happen. Every tribe has a different belief of where they came from. Some came from the water. My husband that was in the plane crash was Homa. And they believe that they came from crawfish. They came from the water. Some believe that they came from the ground, came out of the ground. But the origin and the spiritual aspect of what the stories tell really do coincide with spiritual, like church teachings, And I think that's why it was so easy to transform natives to churches. You know, different areas of the country had different denominations. Those churches, their teachings were so close to what stories that we believe, and so they that got the Indians. So my mom was an orphan. Her mother died of cancer when she was 11 and left 8 kids. And my mom was put into an orphanage and grew up in an orphanage until she was 18, when she was ready to, and they trained her to be a nun. And she was inspired by, to do good just because of the way she was raised, and she believed that the Catholic Church was the way, and for her to be a nun went along with what she was taught about service to people. So she almost made a choice to be a nun because of her spiritual dedication, to culture. And before she took her vows, she met my dad, and the rest is history. She was a stay-at-home mom. She graduated from college the year I graduated from high school. She never drove. After we left home, she learned to drive because she was a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom. She taught me how to cook and clean and dress, and I've always been fashion forward my whole life. I had an aunt that stayed with us, and I changed my clothes too many times, and she was doing the laundry, and she said, you have to wear the same thing 2 days in a row unless it's dirty. So every day before I'd go in, I'd rub dirt all over me, because I'd sit and I'd get dirty because I did not want to wear. I just thought that I was mortified that I would have to wear clothes 2 days in a row. And my mom sewed for me my whole life, and but didn't teach me how to sew. I was in 4-H. I did public speaking and cooking and in 4-H, and I was a Girl Scout. I was a first class Girl Scout and Explorer Scout. My dad would do a really interesting thing. He was a railroader, and he'd come home, and he would come home and he'd get the newspaper, and he would circle an article in the newspaper, one for me and one for my brother, that we had to read. And we all sat down for dinner every single day, and lunch, because I walked home for lunch every day. He would have us read those articles, and at dinner we had to discuss them. I feel like as a woman and a minority, I don't say, like when I ran for office, I never once said I was a minority, or that I was Native, or that I would be the first Native American to be on the Wichita School Board in history.
Which you were.
Which I am, yes. But I never said that because I wanted to win on my abilities and what I bring to the table.
Your own merit.
My own merit, yes. So as a woman, I feel like I have to be an example and be strong, because especially being on the school board, a lot of people are watching me, kids are watching me, and I feel like it's important that I emulate positivity and strength, and like I said, to show that we're still here, natives, as a native, that we're still here, and we're, like I said, smart and educated and active in our community.